Hi everyone, welcome to the Sometimes Stream Summer Edition. Will Wonders Never Cease? In media res! The Skunka Naturalist, DCI Beans, and the Mind Witch Alienist, Bessemer Neversing, previously found themselves in an oubliette of sorts in front of a wooden door, with no memory of how they arrived there. Concurrently, the Demon Knight Fasole and the Skeleton Needle, also a combat class vocation, found themselves attacking a lone green knight on a floating bridge to nowhere, with no memory of how they got there either. Easily thwarting the approaching knight with a shove, and thwarting the door with a newly forged spell using the all-new, all-different spellcast system, the two groups' AB-plotted pairs found themselves on a roof, a stepped pyramid, zigguratish, if you will, being accosted by an entire platoon of some kind. Fasole crashed through a skylight. Why is there a skylight on a ziggurat? Into the chambers of two wrestling giants. All points converge here, over the chamber of Yspaddaden, the Hand of Summer, one of a handful of the defenders of Season's Keeps. I'm going to redo that line. All points converge here, over the chamber of Yspaddaden, the Hand of Summer, one of a handful of the defenders of the realm, the most powerful magic users in all of Season's Keep. Not only an epic magic wielder, not only a giant, as it turns out, also an ex-journeyer, a teleporter. A giant super magic using teleporter. Summer's problems, however, seem to be beyond even the grasp of this epic giant magic wielding user. As converging on the top of the ziggurat, everybody saw the sun blink. That is, the sun was a giant cartoon-looking foam eye that blinked, and in doing so, erased all of their memories for the past 30 seconds.
Now, can you spell Yspaddaden?
Yes, I can. It starts with a silent thorn. No, hold on.
The question is, can you spell Yspaddaden?
It's Yspaddaden, but everybody can just call him Bodden, I think.
I'm gonna not.
For the podcast, do you actually want to say the letters out loud? Because I think it's actually kind of interesting, because I assume this is like real old English, right, Ethan? Maybe?
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a normal name for the Hand of Summer. Yes, it is an updated modern mangling of a very old word. Old English, Welsh, most likely Welsh. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's call him Bodden.
Okay, but it's spelled
It's
YSPD. No, hold on. I'm reading the wrong one. I know that's not it.
It's spelled
Yspaddaden. Ysbadden. Yspaddaden.
There you go. So we're with Yspaddaden on the top of a ziggurat, and the sun blinked, and presumably we all just freaked out.
You see, I thought it was pronounced Isby Daddy.
The sun has stopped being the sun momentarily, and now is an eye.
I like Isby Daddy.
Well, you see, but I was very casual with him, and he's a hero of mine, and so now I feel like I have to be casual, but I'm a little freaked out because he's very cool.
He's all right.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Yspaddaden, who's in the room now, is sort of moving about, cleaning up some furniture from what looks from the last time you looked down in the skylight and then crashed into it. Some kind of wrestling match between him and another giant. Very large and very conventionally sized furniture, all being sort of put into a pile so that there aren't large chunks of broken wood, ottomans, what have you, strewn about the place. Yspaddaden is walking over to a very large pitcher filled with lemon water and pouring himself a tiny, minuscule, human folk size cup of it and putting a very small lemon onto it. Turns back around to the group. Really, calling me anything is fine. But as you can see, we've got some rather large and complex problems afflicting the island at the moment. I'm not super sure if that is the reason that you came to Summer, or not. But if you're interested in helping out, we can check the registry of the Questing Network, and we can certainly sign you up for it if you'd care to.
Yes, please, Daddy. I mean, he's been, yeah,
He turns down. He sort of looms down over Fasole with a very kind of like neutral look in his very large cat eyes out of his long black hair, and says, "Daddy is a fine word too, as well. I respond to most things. Oh, I am, after all, a defender of the public. So really, it's all good, as someone says somewhere, I'm sure. Would you like some lemon water?"
I'm gonna take out a handkerchief and or Hirsu's gonna take out a handkerchief. He's gonna be dabbing Fasole's like forehead as he's like profusely sweating.
Just doing your brother a solid in his moment of need.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just yell down. So, what is the nature of the problem with the sun? Do you have a technical explanation or proposed solution, Mister Daddy Baden?
Yes. Hold on. This is craning my neck a little bit. And he holds out one of his big mutton hooks, and sort of rubs the back of his neck and winces his eyes, and he mutters something under his breath, and he starts shrinking down. The air around him gets palpably hotter as he is going from 25 feet down to 20 feet, down to 19 feet, until he is a very manageable 12 feet tall. The heat coming off of him now is quite intense. He has made himself smaller and denser to be a little bit more at talking range. And he says, "We have a couple of working theories. Excuse me, you are he sort of snaps his fingers. I think you had mentioned you were Beans, yes, with the Department of Perplexities."
Yes, I'm Detective Chief Inspector Bean Crisp Midlon Jagarwal, Detective Chief Inspector of the City of Turnip. One of the DCIs, I guess. There's a couple of people at my level. I was hoping to get promoted, but as you can see, I became beskunked. So now I'm questing Knight Errant style with these lovely people you can see. The sun, though, the actual orb that heats up the world, has become a giant eyeball.
Yes.
What the fuck?
It is a bit perplexing. So I'm sure professionally this is right up your alley. He looks around the group conspiratorially and just asks, just between all of us in this room, out there, I don't know which season you came from before you were in Summerside, and presumably with the memory loss you've experienced today, maybe you don't know either. It sounded like you were coming from spring, but in spring, is the sun also currently an eyeball?
Well, there were some balls, but they had monsters in them.
He sort of blinks and he says, "I'm going to table that. I'm deeply curious about what you said,
Oh.
and we will revisit that."
I have one here if you want me to. Do you want me to? You want to like hold? Like it doesn't have the thing inside. We freed all the things captured inside, but you can look at it if you want.
That's right. You have, as I recall, the GM said, several of the forest orbs in your possession, as well
I have
as
two.
one orange one
And an ornamental wood.
and an ornamental wood one.
But empty.
He takes, yeah. So he reaches down and he picks it up with his now, much smaller but still quite sizable giant half stone hand. And looks over the beast orb from the beast orb bounty of Brocadia County, your last questing mission, and looks at the sort of perplexing agglomeration, nice word, of technics and magic, or magitech, or technomagics. It's a Guga, a Ozy what's it, a gizmo, a gadget. Looks it over, and he says that there's some very interesting folding magic in this object. I presume it caused no small manner of trouble for your people.
Well, it was it was our So there was a group of poachers who were recruiting teenagers to kidnap different megafauna and using them to fight in matches. To what end, I don't remember. It wasn't. It was too stupid to remember.
He's done. Takes the ball and sort of blinks, hearing. He says, "There were. It sounds like some sort of bear baiting. That's horrible. I'm sure you received accolades for breaking such a horrible thing up. What are awful things. Spring has got some.
You'd think, but they didn't seem to care. It was very weird.
They got a little mad at us for beating up teens.
Oh, well, sometimes, that can't be helped. He seems to brush this off completely, like that's a normal, average thing to say. And then says, but getting back to the matter, these orbs were not, and he says this completely plainly and straightly, these weren't the sun at any point.
No.
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
Not that I remember.
Oh, that's perfectly fair. So for what I'm hearing is that past summer, the sun is not a giant eye looking like it came out of a children's theater.
So what I'm hearing is it may not be the sun itself, but some sort of very powerful glamour affecting half of an entire continent. I mean, that's still bad, but not nearly as bad as an actual combusting ball of hydrogen suddenly becoming, goopy, clear liquid with a cool, like a colorful thing in the middle.
Yes, that is something of a relief to hear. I suppose I would have read about it in a broadsheet at this point. But the fact that it's localized to summer, and he starts pacing the room, which is creating large footfalls like the whomp, whomp. Even the very handsome, very thick circular carpeting in this large antechamber is not enough to absorb the sounds of his very large, giant feet as he lumbers about the room. Whomp, whomp. It seems to me that's an interesting idea about it being a glamour charm. That's very astute. It is something of a relief that it is not, the sun. He pauses to think. He says, "But what?" He said, "I've fought creatures beyond reason. I've battled with concepts at the edge of unreality." He points up at the sky through the shattered window or the shattered skylight and says, I don't know what that is. I'm a little vexed not knowing, and quite frankly, I'm a little vexed that I can't simply wink over there and solve it. The sun, and he puts it in air quotes, is a bit out of my purview. I cannot go to space. So hearing that it perhaps is a glamour might bring this down to Season's Keep a little bit, so to speak.
Not to alarm you, but do you think that might be an attack on you yourself?
He leans back and then leans back forward again. It's sort of a very jarring thing. Have any of you, out of curiosity, have any of you had any experience interacting with giants outside of like a major city, just in your travels? You can roll a reason to find this out, or you can simply tell
I've
me
talked to people who
narratively.
are 12 feet tall, but Fasole never has.
You yourself, Ben, have.
Yeah.
Oh, well, absolutely. One thing that giants, the most jarring thing about talking to a giant, if you are of human folk size or smaller, is the fact that they have the same head motions as everybody does, which means that when they lean back and forward, perspective-wise, for a moment, you see a very large and looming figure, and then in the next second, you see a face right by your face, taking up the entire full view of your vision. And they're not being menacing. They're simply talking casually. Historically speaking, this one simple fact has caused more and bloodier problems between, the original human folk of the Isles and giantdom, which was all solved many, many centuries ago in the Great Jaw of 1312. But back to the story at hand.
I have definitely spoken to many a giant, getting an 8 on a reason check. But I think really what helps more is just I've been a skunk for over a year now, about a year and maybe a year and a month or something. I don't know. And so this is the same thing happens to me all the time, just with normal sized humans. And even, fae, demons, whatever, people in between, other talking animals who happen to be larger animals. So yeah, just continue to speak unfazed here. So this is a very interesting theory. So do you think someone is targeting Daddy Button because of reasons, and we just need to figure out reasons, and then can maybe find a would-be targeter? Maybe would-be killer? We're not sure. It's just kind of weird, actually. Would-be freaker outer.
Go ahead.
Question, Ethan. Is it still blinking? Are we like experiencing the world at like 24 frames per second or something? Like where it's, or like in stop motion where we're still moving, but like we're losing every time it blinks, like a few seconds.
It has stopped blinking. It seems to, based on the events of the past few minutes. You have got in your possession, Hirsute, from your travels across the stepped pyramid or zigguratish structure, if you will, of the summer house. You found in a treasure chest the last time round a small metal cube, and that metal cube seems to wink the color green whenever a, in quotes, blink has happened so far. It was previously when you were on the rooftop, blinking green, which meant that you had lost about 30 seconds the last time that it had blinked. But for now, the sun seems to be staring straight ahead, an unblinking eye. But from these two facts, you can easily surmise that every time that the sun itself moves to blink, when it is blinking, your memories are gone. And when it opens its eye again, your cognizance of the passage of time seems to have returned. But
also,
to answer your question, time is moving at a normal clip because that eye is bulging open.
is it pointed at us? And two, what time of day is it?
Right now, it is evening. The eye itself seems to, as before, be staring off to some point on the horizon or out even beyond that to the stars. It does not seem to be pointed directly at the Earth at all.
Oh, it's evening, but it hasn't set, is what you're saying.
It has not set, and now as the moon rises from the horizon with a beautiful starscape, it seems that the eye of the sun is still in the sky and not bright.
You think it might be some sort of simulacrum? Like it's a representation of the sun, and it's not the actual... Because it hasn't moved, actually, like to below the horizon.
Forgive me, but regardless of what it is, what does it does? Have you noticed or been able to observe any patterns about when it blinks? What does it blink at certain times or after certain events? Or is there any correlatory evidence anywhere yet?
Those are all very interesting and good questions. Baden thinks, he's like, I think perhaps if we take this to the records room, people who are a bit better with this sort of speech than I can start filling in some of the gaps. If you mind, and he holds out his hands in sort of like in a gesture indicating that he'd like people to touch it.
Do you want me to?
Oh yes. So I apologize. Yes. Could everybody please touch my palm?
Okay, cool. Also, a quick question.
No.
Do you have anywhere to buy or do you have any resource? I need to stock up on some healing kit, medical stuff. I just wanted to throw that out there for going places.
Oh, if you'd like to speak with somebody about replacing your various unguents and such, if you'll go down to the lower level, we have a fully stocked supply wing. It's by the easternmost rampart of this tower.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Excellent. And with that, I touch his hand, which I'm assuming is like an American Girl doll holding on to an adult man.
Well, pretty much. That's accurate. His hand feels softer than you would think it would, being half stone. It is a gray green stone, and there seems to be tufts of moss growing here and there on the pads of his palms and fingers. Hirsute, have you decided not to touch his hand?
I think like a child, he said no, but then slowly.
He says, one moment. This will simply be faster. I think if the sun is still in the sky at night, that might complicate things. So I suppose we should expediency.
I have not touched his hand.
Yeah.
Vasole has like reached out a little too fast and then realized and like, very gingerly touches it to not be too eager.
He turns to DCI Beans and says, "We'll be back in just a moment, really." And then there's a boom, and the air is rushing in to fill the vacuum where his body and all of your bodies were. And all of you now seem to, in a very quick instance, except for DCI Beans, finding yourself moving through a starry corridor, up is down, day is night. The heavens are singing, all the molecules of the universe are dancing, etc., and so forth. And instantaneously, you find yourself with an inverted boom, a whoop, inside a library with a ceiling made for giants, hundreds of feet tall. Inside a structure with flying buttresses being supported by some sort of magics. There's beautiful filigree and curlicues with astonishing moving stonework and masonry that would make an angel weep. And he says, "Good. If you'll excuse me, let's talk to the librarian." And he motions over to the wing, and a giant of about the same size, 10, 12 feet tall, starts walking over. This giant
we make a will check for what just happened?
Oh, what a fantastic idea! You absolutely should.
I don't want to ask the teacher for homework or anything, but
yeah, maybe going around and seeing what everyone does. And
yes,
you all should definitely spend more time on this. But then I do have a thing when you cut back to Ispedaden's ziggurat.
Okay, great. Yes, for the three of you, please go around the room and make will checks. Excellent idea.
7.
5.
5. Fasoli, you got I believe a 7.
7.
7. Hirsute, what may you have?
8.
All right. Fasole and Hirsute, it seems that going to whatever school of hard knocks you did growing up in the city of Idonite, while being quite astonished by this, you do not outwardly show it. Fasole, you are still fanboying out about Yspadaden in the flesh, and now you have folded with him across space and time.
Really, I already felt like I wanted to vomit. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just icing on the wanting to throw up for joy and anxiety cake. Hirsute, this was a really great rush on a really great roller coaster. Bessemer, you love altered states of being. It is your prime drive. You are constantly pursuing it. This felt like somebody turned your mind inside out again. This was sort of like, well, for the first time, maybe too much of a good thing momentarily. It's not exactly a bad trip. But this is a kind of movement as a person who is not a journeyer you haven't really experienced before.
And I am love-hating the fuck out of it.
For you specifically, the room hasn't completely resolved itself. Like, you can't tell what's moving around through some sort of psychedelic Mandela effect from your eyes, or whether it's just, your standard magical architecture doing its filigreed thing.
I feel like I might have a hangover from this for like a couple hours. Like, shit, I'm seeing other dimensions now.
You literally did see another dimension for a brief moment, and now you're back to another mindfuck, giant architecture. The giant who has very long gray hair put up in a bun comes over and has a very large standard for giants tome, who they open up, and they do all of this effortly with just the wave of Yspadaden's hand. They don't need to be prompted, asked, or said. They simply seem to be on call for this problem. As the two of them start looking over the records, we go back to the stepped pyramid ziggurat, western half of the summer house, where DCI Beans is now in a room by himself, the antechamber of Yspidun.
Yes, and I'm going to use the power obverse observe, which lets me carefully study a scene, take in context clues, and a la the famous detective who's like an opium addict, I don't know, discover exactly what has happened. I'm trying to figure out who would be targeting Yspidun and or with him as a metonym, like Summer itself or whatever. And it says if I spend 1 minute, then I can tell everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. And if I spend even more grit, I can figure out everything that's happened here in like the last fortnight. So I'm trying to reconstruct everything Yspidun's been up to, not because I actually think he's doing anything wrong necessarily. From what I understand, he's like a superhero, but like I want to understand like who is after him. And this requires a bunch of grit. So I'm going to burn 10 grit. But what you see, so that's happening in my mind, but what you actually see is a skunk in a large, which would be like small, it'd be like a mason jar for Yspidun, but it's large for us, water container. And I was absentmindedly, while thinking, dove in to get a large like lemon, and there's like a lemon stuck on my maw, and I can't get like so I'm kind of inside a lemon, like wheeling backwards, soaking wet, while trying to do a Sherlock Holmes.
As your incredible
the whole time, yeah. As
your incredible mind palace happens. So you said that it takes 1 minute for you to set it up.
No, I'm doing the version where it takes me if you burn additional and a full hour. I would like to spend as long as possible, so I don't know how long they'll be gone. So at least a minute, hopefully an hour.
Right. Well, that's excellent. You got right to work doing this the absolute second that Yspidun was gone. It's interesting that you mentioned the word superhero, because the defenders of the realm, while considered by many, including Fasole, to be heroic defenders of the people, in fact, it's in the title, Defender of the Realm. For the most part, people tend to consider them to be ferocious, terrifying, and difficult to work with, best kept at arm's length. They represent something for magic that people kind of like to keep at at arm's length or out of sight. All the sort of monstrous, gruesome kind of magic that people have spent the past couple hundred years doing their level best to try and tamp down at the edges, to try and make city life be a thing that is possible. Returning now to the library. This giant holding a book, this tome, which is a sort of ledger. Really, it's minutes in some sort of complicated shorthand. They're sort of looking back over all of it, and then that giant tromps back over. Yspidun looks down at the three of you and says, "They're going to get a star chart. I think we're going to try and see when precisely this became more of a significant problem." Please, look about at your leisure. This will take a minute or two. I must attend to some things outside. I will be back in a couple of minutes. I am going to see what's what with my summer guard, and also try and he looks around and says, "I don't suppose anybody here." He looks at he's like, not to draw conclusions, but is anybody here from Interhart? Sully says, "Oh, pick me!"
But Sully raises his hand instantly.
Yeah, he says, I don't suppose any of you have any connections with the House of Planets and Spires, would you?"
I got hit by one.
We've been there a few times.
You've been hit by a planet. He says, "It's like this is a more fortunate grouping of people than I probably could have anticipated." Fully assuming you mean that you have been hit by an actual planet. Well, it was very large. He says, let's just say summer currency doesn't spend very well in winter at the moment. If you have any sort of way of contacting, it would help us greatly. But that's possibly for another day. I shall be back in a few moments. Enjoy the sights, he says. I don't quite know what to do here.
Where's your assistant?
Yeah, he disappears and it explodes. Did you assistant
his assistant? What happened to him?
The guy without a shirt.
The guy without a shirt. Yeah, his assistant. Yeah,
the guy who had my car.
Right. He was to your knowledge back at the summer house, or the ziggurat portion of it, in the antechamber where DCI Beans is currently operating, or at least that's the last time that you saw him.
That's probably fine.
Um,
The second question: is there any thing to read over here?
So the giant who is now poring over these records and has placed them onto like a table, and then looking down at all of you, realizes that's probably not for the best, and gingerly places the very large book on the floor for all of you to look at. It is written in yearly, not in the words, the giant language, or in Sumerian, the summer language. It seems to be written in standard for anybody to read. And says, what was your question again, my undead fellow?
Sorry, phone call. Wait, cut this whole part out. Beep boop beep boop beep. Thank you.
Returning.
Do you think the previous question about maybe it being an attack on you, like something specific, like something specifically designed to confound you?
Well, the librarian looks up and looks down and says, "An attack on Summer. That's an interesting question."
The hand of Summer specifically.
Oh, an attack on Yispidaden.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look through the notes, and starts moving through the notes, trying to compare them with star charts. Anybody here with any sort of star chart experience or any kind of nautical reasoning could probably make sense of this.
I have some of that.
Oh, for crying out loud. I forgot about that.
Should I just go for it, or because like I don't think I can do much without. So I start undressing and unveil that the entirety of my body is covered in a cosmic nautical style star chart that can be enchanted to change to show whatever you need.
You're a planetarian.
So now Bessemer is naked in the library. It's like everyone's dream who watched the first The Mummy.
Yes. The giant the giant librarian is sort of looking down as this is happening, and sort of is like under their breath, just human folk customs, I suppose, and continues to go through the book, unbothered by the fact of this diminutive visitor. In answer to Hirsute's question, I'm going to actually roll for this too. Let's see here.
Well, Ethan's rolling for that. Can you just explain where Uranus is?
It changes based on where it is, but like, it doesn't move my anus on my body. That would be funny. I do think I've probably allowed there to be some sort of humor or pun type things allowed. So if you get close and inspect, you will be rewarded. And this is very normal for me. I'm just like, yeah, it might not be normal for everybody else, but I have a entire body that is a star chart, and I travel and do things. So this is normal.
Your
the
whole
giant
head
who
is Cygnus. Yeah, it's really funny. This giant librarian, whose name is Izem Neon, looks down and says, "Excuse me, young miss, when was your tattoo sticked? Do you have a, and sort of wavers, like a precise date
of when my tattoo was sticked? It started at noon on my 13th birthday."
There's a blinking sound, and the librarian says, "Well, that's clearly quite lovely. That time-wise means absolutely nothing to me. That's completely relative. How old are you now?
Okay.
We're gonna get an
I'm-
answer to this we do not like.
I'm
You can also just whisper it in the
32
ear.
now,
Yeah.
so this was what, 19 years ago.
Yes. All right. So with that information, the librarian then looks over at the star charts, look at this, looks back at the thing, looks at, starts flipping through the books really quickly, and the books are moving at a blurred speed. And the librarian is whispering a little bit underneath their breath. And in short order, a green and glowing map. I think Bessemer, especially, you would remember this sort of green glowing sort of like stylized magic is something that you think that you recall Nils Morpha from the librarian Idnite doing. This seems to be a particularly inflected kind of library magic. The star chart erupts off of the page and quietly moves into a three-dimensional chart. She seems to be moving it around left and right, and corroborating it with some of the information that's in the book. She is looking directly at Hirsute while thinking this question, and then stops. The star chart stops. Something zooms up, turns to the right page, and says to Hirsute, you see, it's very hard to get nautical and star information from the other seasons. Information moving between the islands, between you and me, doesn't tend to like the ride back and forth. So this is quite helpful. I don't know if Ispadin has told you the time frame of this happening or not. This started it started about a month ago. You're sure? Just to be clear, you're sure that there's been no record of an eye in the sky in any of the other islands?
Well, one of the problems is that the eye seems to cause memory loss, so might be pretty hard.
This is so. What you're saying is this might really be a larger problem than we think.
Or it could be a direct. Or I think I'm gonna go with I think it's a direct attack on y'all.
But it could be that we've just been forgetting things this whole time, ever since, before we met.
Or the librarian looks down at Neon, says, or both. Neon looks Hirsute over and sees the vest and crest of a needle. And when somebody who's a trained combatant, a merc, especially with the Houses of Midnight, says that something could be an attack, this person is wants to take it very seriously. Looks down at Hirsute and says, if one were to go about making an attack such as this, forget the mechanics of it. It's impossible. It's insane. It's in the sky. It doesn't make any sense. It defies all reason. Blah blah blah. Yes, yes. But if one were trying to pull off a level of guile like this, what would it be? The memory? Would it be rounding out some kind of ambush? What would be the reason for doing it, and how would that work for an attack?
Well, it'd be tying up one of the defenders of the realm. That's what I mean.
Curious.
Because he'd be preoccupied with this and not be able to leave until he resolved this to do, wherever he goes.
He goes everywhere. So not being able to do that would be a really bold move indeed. I'm going to have to bring this up with the Summer Guard.
What is there something that he has been doing recently, or was happening normally happens around a certain time that someone could be trying to make him forget to do or want to complete?
He's in Neon, stands back and rubs one eye and says, what isn't he doing? Where isn't he going? That seems like a good moment to go back to DCI beads in the stepped pyramid.
Right. Beans is going through all of Ispadin's clothes at this point, having already gone through all the paper artifacts of whatever kind, like letters, books, you tell me. And I think now Beans is basically wearing, not on purpose, but in a cartoonish fashion, like a scarf that has gotten wrapped around and like shoes made from some object that would be small for Ispadad, and so not his shoes, obviously, but are like stuck on my front paws. But I still have now like a collar made of lemon rind because I've just eaten a bunch of lemon rind, and I'm kind of gagging, and as I'm muttering and I'm trying to think about summer and the Defenders of the Realm, I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to taste anything but citron for a week. It's just going to, every time I burp, every time I eat a maggot or a delicious piece of cheese, I do have some cheese back there, I should wash my mouth out. No, focus, mint crisp. And I just like am rambling. So I don't know what I've uncovered, but that's the vibe.
Yeah, at this point, at the very least, a minute has passed. And it doesn't seem like Yispidadin is returning to this room at this moment. As you start to focus, you're going through all of these affects, the rather large bits of paperwork, the smaller pieces of ephemera for any of his human folk or demon or fae attendants, basically anybody non-giant. And the paperwork for this place is quite, this seems to be a well-run operation. As you're starting to struggle with your rind, smelling nothing but citron, you described to me the sort of like fun narrative effect that's happening as the past 24 hours of the room and all of its goings-ons start to roll behind your eye as you piece it all together based on small changes in the atmosphere, bits of furniture, the atmosphere, the tapestries on the wall, etc., etc.
Yeah, I say all those things to myself, but what it's also probably based on is like a diary that Ispadadin keeps or something that just like outlines like what he's been up to, that I found, oh, this is very helpful. This explains a lot of the plot. But yeah, I think it is noticing a lot of things in the corners of the room, the way things are positioned. I mean, I don't know the guy well enough. You'd have to fill in some of the details, but like he lives in a ziggurat and he offered us fancy water. So I imagine there's a certain sort of order. And then I think what I would be looking for is a series of breakings of that order. What are ways in which it is deformed? And are those ordinary deformations someone who is orderly but enjoys tossing their slippers in, a nonchalant way? Or are they like something was dropped in the heat of battle? It does also seem like he's randomly wrestling a lot and has sort of like a hyper-vigilant bodyguard. So I'm also trying to see what they would normally be doing and either muting that or like bringing that to the foreground as my detective instincts / skunk abilities confirm or disconfirm their suspicion.
Totally. So you're trying to roll back all of these patterns and mute or bring up any sort of significant aberrations in those daily patterns of life.
This is what cops do, right? This is what Eric Adams would be doing right now if he were not.
if he were not completely. Yep.
That's what he was doing in the bathroom when he was deleting his texts. Yeah.
Right. He was doing all this stuff. Right?
Was it what the cops were doing when they shot the people who were not involved in anything?
Yes, they left a record of that.
That is the joke. Beans is a cop from a cartoon. If it is not painfully clear, he's not a like New York City cop investigating non-crimes and shooting non-criminals.
He's like actually on the case.
He's doing what he thinks detectiving is, which involves lightning bolts, eating all of his potential victims / suspicious persons' fruits, and just wearing jaunty scarves. So yeah, I don't know, Ethan.
Standard Department of Perplexities, yeah.
Exactly, very standard. I burned 10 grit. You tell me.
Than we have.
So the events of the past couple of days become very, very, or the past couple of hours become very apparent. There seems to be some wrestling and furniture breaking, meeting with the librarian, talking with a summer guard, Yispidadin disappearing into thin air, returning back with the crest, the iron crest of some ancient siege war engine, dropping it onto the ground. Gets into a bath. It seems to be there's some more wrestling, and there's more. It's like very obvious at this point. Like there's a lot of wrestling with his guards. They're having sex. This is probably his boyfriend, who he also admonishes after wrestling with, who's also his bodyguard. Somebody's bringing in a pink car, and it causes a large argument between them, which then turns into wrestling again. Disappearing into thin air, coming back covered in slime, disappearing into thin air, coming back singed, but triumphant, disappearing into thin air. But you are noticing that the frequency of these disappearances keeps seeming to increase, almost like even over a very recent amount of time. He is on the clock more and more and more. And you notice as he's doing that, his shoulders are slumping more. He is pacing and shuffling more. More furniture is getting broken in the wrestling. This is a person who seems to be working themselves half to death over the very recent history.
So no clues as to the sun or the giant eyeballs specifically.
No clues as to the giant eyeball specifically, but it does seem to be that the pitch at which this individual, the defender of the realm, is trying to, in quotes, solve problems is accelerating.
Like before we got there, was already freaking out.
Before you even got there, was already freaking out. Was already doing like more and more, and then more and more and more and more.
Is there any way to tell if someone, like, is there a villain of some kind emerging in pattern, or is there just no information on this after 1 minute?
There is one pattern that seems to be emerging. The summer guard and the attendants in this castle fortress, or whatever you want to call it, the summer house, are pacing around him and eyeing him. They seem to be on their guard even when he is not present, when he has disappeared into thin air and returned. There seems to be an air of conspiracy about the castle.
Oh, interesting. And the summer guard are with, well, I don't know. Do I know where they are right now? Are they like in this?
The last time that you had seen them, Hirsute had collectively humiliated them first by throwing a chest at their hype guy, and then calling them bad at their job. After which they retreated to get themselves cleaned up. After Yspidadin told them to vamoose. He said he needed to check in with them, but I don't think that you've heard that because he was in the other location. So I regret saying that.
Yep. No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. All right. Well, if that's what I know, then I think I would just try to keep looking, because if I do it for an hour, I'm supposed to learn a lot more. So you should probably just cut back. But yeah,
alrighty.
Anyway.
Cutting back again. It's I suppose it's been about half an hour, 45 minutes. This is the real-time logistics version of doing the research on this project. You're all so now Ismin Neon is talking intently with Hirsute. I don't know if Fasole has joined or not, but is very keen to be talking to some outside mercs about their combat experience and sort of putting together the hypothetical of how somebody would use something this fragrantly large and this outlandishly impossible to try and lay siege to a person as powerful as Yspidadin the Giant, or perhaps Summer itself.
Well, you could hit them with it.
Well, hit them with the sun.
Well, if it's the thing.
I suppose that's entirely possible. The thing that breaks my noodle was why is it an eye, and why does it look so jankety?
Well, I think maybe that's the whole point. Maybe it's to cause as much confusion as possible to occupy him as much as possible.
Oh, well, I have to say,
we're working with my theory.
Mission successful on that front. Everybody is downright flummoxed by it. I'm surprised society hasn't completely collapsed. I think the only reason that Summer is just chugging along as it wont to do is that outlandishly large-scale magic events are a little more commonplace here than they are in other places. But this points to the ceiling, presumably at the sun. This is something different.
Well, not everyone spends all day doing something. If you lost 15 minutes in your average day, would you notice?
I suppose not. I suppose time being taken here and there.
We noticed because we were going somewhere.
Bessemer, what did you say?
I said I do lose 15 minutes in the average day, but that's a me thing.
That's an Erica thing. Yeah,
Maybe
that's an Erica thing. That's probably a Bessemer thing too.
Fasole, what were you saying?
We noticed because we were going somewhere new.
That's true.
And we ended up somewhere we didn't know that we were going.
I have a question. Have there been any recent art fairs or shows?
The Neon sort of scratches their head and says, do you mean on the island? In summer? Presumably. It's this is a very place is very crafty. It's a high.
That's kind of along the lines that I was thinking. If we could narrow down to whomst we are looking by looking at the artistic styles of the creators in the area and who may be either sourcing materials or creating things in this style.
You mean the style of crappy clay?
Crappy clay,
eyelashes clearly
yes.
made out of garbage.
Bad claymation style. Yes,
it's an affront to summer magic in its entirety. I'll tell you what.
Clay is supposed to stay in the ground.
I'll tell you.
Yes,
what.
here, young demon. Yes, 100%. Clay needs to be in the ground, or it needs to be made into a beautiful ornamental pot or a handsome, and just starts going with it. Like, this is an island this is a season that prides itself on its craftsmanship from start to finish. Something this like points up like to the sky through the ceiling, amateurish, being part of some plot. It's embarrassing is what it is.
Just to clarify, I'm an angel.
Oh, well, looks behind and looks at the armor. It's like, well, I beg your pardon. I didn't see your wings through your armor. If you'll excuse my
that's a stereotype.
I know. Well, I do apologize.
Maybe think a bit more before you judge people. Yeah.
I do have time wings.
Too. The librarian Neon gets a little quiet and says, "Tell you what, pursuing both of these lines of inquiry at the same time, why don't we take a look at a little map and see if there's been any sort of artistic endeavors along the island along this idea? We can maybe cross-reference them a little bit with combat, with this new sort of well, now that we have the time frame of it, thanks to oh, is Bessemer still naked, or does Bessemer put clothing back on? Oh yeah, thanks.
Oh no, I'm totally still naked.
I'm sorry,
I'm very
young human folk.
comfortable.
I didn't catch your name.
Bessemer.
Yes. Thanks to Bessemer's I suppose skin map. It's we have a decent method. Do you mind if I took all of this information and imbued your tattoo with it?
Oh, please do. That's how I understand it best.
Oh well, that's good, because it's temporary. So it should wear off in a. Well, I appreciate it. That's very kind of you.
Tattoos are permanent.
Well,
Not
yes,
this
tattoos are
kind.
permanent. Nothing's permanent. Everything is permanent. Nothing is permanent. Yeah. So without even so much as a blink and a nod or a mutter, the giant librarian turns around, and you feel whatever the opposite of an electric thrill is go through your body. It is it's an unpleasant kind of clammy sensation, almost like it is borrowing electricity from your body very quickly, to do a quick little rewrite, and a sort of area, whatever the opposite of an electric thrill is, I guess, an inert gloom. Yeah.
Exactly.
And an arc of stars from your shoulder down to your lower back is now sort of like marked with this information. And she says, I suppose also in addition to that, we could just look at a map of Summerside together. But this is cooler, you have to admit.
No, I don't.
Is her suit having a hard time because there's so much skin involved right now?
Well, he can't vomit, but
He would.
yeah.
Flesh. Not exactly a skeleton's favorite thing in the world.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So she now walks everybody over to try and find a map and pursue this modus operandi. We go back now to DCI Beans as an hour tolls past. At this point now, presumably with a half shredded rind, like a ruffled collar, in a pile of clothing, looking through documents, yarn ball style.
Yeah, no, I think I'm like fully have gone. What was that movie? The Science of Sleep or something? It's like I'm like fully like just completely covered in Baden crap, diary entries, bread husks. So I sort of have encased myself in like an armor of this person's life to try to like really feel them out. I think partly because I'm losing my mind because I'm becoming more and more skunk-like. So I'm having a harder time connecting to like a busy guy who's kind of like a CEO of a group of knights or something. So I'm just sort of throwing darts at the wall. But I do have a great sense of smell and all that detective training. So I don't know what I've learned. But I also have, I'm just thinking I'll just start casting spells at random, Ethan, if I don't get anything good. So either way, can't wait.
Yeah, never say die. At this point, like half feral, crazed with olfactory overstimulation, as you are now completely enclosed in Baden crap. You are becoming his itinerary moment by moment, as you are playing back this seemingly the smooth gears of his life. Disappearing, reappearing, battle, disappearing, reappearing, wrestle, battle, itinerary, disappearing. It is moving now. The gears are moving at a blur, faster and faster, as you are now going through more and more time. And all of a sudden, like, things snap to a stop. And you see in your mind's eye, or perhaps played out in the room itself, everything is become perfectly still as the blur of the past couple of weeks all now come to a head. In that blur of time, you see a giant appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. And you do in fact notice that as you're cycling it back, that time of disappearing and reappearing, the intervals get more and more leisurely. As it goes farther and farther back in time, as if the frenetic working himself to death action has really only started in the past week or so. And before that, a cadence of him disappearing once a day and returning about an hour or two later comes back. And in that time of that spike, one humongous difference seems to change. Nobody is looking up at the sky past the 2-week mark. And there is a sudden moment when people are looking up at the sky and they're remarking at it through the big skylight of this handsome antechamber. They're looking up. They're not pacing around the room. That circle of gears of motion has come to a stop. You've probably found the moment of this when the sun first appeared. And in fact, using this power, you may have found a way around this bizarre memory wipe spell.
Oh, please. I would love to. I would explain it, Ethan, but you'll be so much better at explaining what I, Detective DCI Beans, have discovered. Unless that was an invitation for me to make up something,
It wasn't. It was an invitation.
Sure.
It was an invitation for you to make up something.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I guess it seems like the memory loss is tied to the appearance of the eye thing, which was 2 weeks ago, right? This is all following and is localized to summer, which is a pretty broad region, or even if it's just right over us, it's affecting enough people where it's pretty unsettling. So I think if we stop the eye from blinking or us perceiving the eye to blink, maybe there's a kind of counter geas or reskinning, like they hacked, the environment here, and I could counter hack it with magic. So I could just recklessly start casting spells, which I love because we have a whole new spell casting, system. And maybe somebody else could jump in also and help when they get back. But hey, they're not here, so fuck it.
DCI Beans, would you like to attempt to cast a spell to try and do a workaround for what you have perceived?
Well, if I can ask mechanically, so are you saying by burning all that credit, spending an hour, using that power, this should work to restore my memory or stop me from losing memory? Like, what do I think I'm doing, I guess?
You have at this point realized that by placing together events, what you're doing right now is deduction. It's not technically memory. So you have found a nice little mechanical workaround to having your memory blotted out. You're able to piece together events that happened prior, even if you don't remember them, because that's how obverse observe works.
I see. I can use my memory palace to invent memories that I no longer have, but be fairly certain that they're accurate because the signs are all there materially, right? There's still some
The
imprint.
signs are there. Yeah, the symbols, the patterns on the carpet.
Right. Information is never lost. It just becomes tweets and Reddit posts and stuff. Okay. Well, then I don't know that casting a spell would help right now, but I still don't know that I've also gotten to the root of the problem. Why is the sun a giant eye and causing us to lose memory? Is that something that I have any idea about, or is that still like percolating?
So I would say the thing that you notice when you notice at that very last moment, at the inciting incident, when everybody's staring at the sky, when it suddenly weirdly turns purple, perhaps, or chartreuse, something different. And everybody is staring up at the sky, dumbfounded. And in that moment in time, you notice that everybody is not freaking out and running around. They're not saying 2 arms, 2 arms. Nobody is calling for the guard or the muster. Nobody outside of the realm of this happening. I think from this, you can deduce, and I will say this, that what is happening is summer magic. Doesn't seem to be a foreign invasive force.
So it's possible they set themselves up the bomb, and they are now reaping the consequences.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions.
It's a little Chernobyl action over here, huh?
Right. Well, this is extremely interesting, but we really have to know more how to solve the problem. Actually, maybe it's not really our problem to solve. Maybe we just GTFO this whole continent and never come back, because who needs to fuck with giant people? I should get this lemon off. I think now I'm just trying to like set things right. And trying to get out of my baguette hands. Yeah.
Never get out of your baguette hands. Then you've got a snack and you've got phantom gloves. I'd just never get out of baguette hands.
You know, it's the moment when a little kid points out to another little kid that it's all just imagination, and they're like, "Oh shucks, you're right." You know, so I sort of like the magic's worn off, and I'm like, "Oh, these people are just idiots like everyone else." Oh, this checks out. That's been true the other 100% of the time. All of the other cases. Why wouldn't that be true today? I'm sort of like in a bad mood now.
But I do like the idea that while he's saying this, every single object in the entire room is basically stuck to Bean's Katamari style.
Yes.
It's DCI Beans. Caught on you, Spadaddy. Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Yeah. So we're now. I don't know, Wythe, if you were able to take a look at the image that was sent in the Discord chain. If you could share it with the screen now.
Oh, sure. Give me a second. I did not realize that was a thing.
No problem.
The first one or the second one?
The first one.
I do not see a thing in the Discord.
6:05 p.m.
Oh, sorry. Earlier. Sorry, that was before we were doing stuff. Got it. Okay, let me.
I thought because I was reading the new skeleton chapter.
Do you want to cut back to their team real quick, and I'll load these bad boys up?
Sure thing. So we cut now to a sort of a trap door, I guess, but a handsome looking one built into the ceiling, being opened up. 2 giant hands, 2 half quartz giant hands, pushing it out of the way. And the beautiful starry night sky with the mysterious eye in the sun in the on the horizon now, as the giant librarian leads you all onto the rampart top of this section, the easternmost section of the summer house. There are ramparts and bartizans, parapets, beautiful walls. It seems to be cobbled together from a half dozen other castles and structures of various eras, looking out over the great plain of central Summerside, tilting slightly to the right, and has taken out a folded map. It seems to be an ancient map which has been gussied up with various modern pieces of paper. The librarian says, we were hoping to make some sort of brochure of some kind, maybe drum up some tourism, but that all sort of fell away. This is, I guess, the you'd sort of call it the paste up of what that was going to be. We've added some additional things. We're here at the summer house overlooking the east. I suppose now is the time to oh, what a beautiful night. Looks up at the great starry sky above all of you. In the sky, a great rook lazily sweeps by. A couple of pterodactyls moving in the opposite direction. The rook sort of careens over and starts attacking and devouring the pterodactyls.
Okay, yeah.
Rook as in from chess.
Oh, as in a giant bird.
A giant Middle Eastern mythical creature.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
and the only reason I know that is because of one time
One Piece.
in Harry Potter. Ron says rook and Hermione says, it looks nothing like a bird. And he says, no, a castle to you.
hmm.
Okay, and
this
this,
one
has
wasn't
been
it.
quoting other things. This has been intertexts with Erica. We'll get to it later.
They say rock in One Piece, so that's why.
I play a lot of Shin Megami Tensei.
Many roads lead to weird fantasy creatures. I think that's what's particularly annoying about it. No, it's particularly wonderful about it. So it seems the megafauna are coming out for the night against the sky. The eye really is in this darker light. Sure is a giant eye. What's off-putting the most about it is that it looks the size that it is. It doesn't look like it's a superimposed prop. It looks like a bizarre claymation eye that is millions of miles wide in the sky. It looks that size. If it is illusion magic or some sort of guile, oh boy, is it a colossal one. So she holds up one hand and casts a light illumination to look at the map, and says, so bringing together the information that we've talked about so far, an attempted attack on us and really, really terrible art, I suppose finding the intersection of these two things shouldn't be too difficult. Who would have the combat abilities, the prowess, the just plain grit, and also points around the map? See, over here you'll see the city of Nimril is known for its gems and its mining. This might be a prime target for it if the thought of making something look this terrible wouldn't cause somebody to be kicked out of the city, their entire union card ripped apart. So it's definitely a possibility. It's a trade city, but it's also quite undefended. I don't quite know if there'd be any sort of military action that they would take with something like this. There's always the petty kingdoms of summer. There's dozens of them, but they spend most of their time attacking each other. They're always at each other's throats, constantly at war. Sometimes I feel like half of what Ysbaddaden does is interfere to stop them from warring with one another. Just as well, there's the abandoned city. We don't really talk about that. There's the summer house here, and then there's Overleaf, where all of you, presumably, if you came from Spring, came from there. It's the area of steps, and the forest that leads from Springside all the way up to the half-floating northernmost area of Summerside.
I don't
Forgive
remember.
me. There you go.
Fair.
Forgive me for possibly sounding like an asshat. Perhaps we should talk about the place that you don't ever talk about.
The abandoned city? I don't see
Yes.
why would we. There's lots of abandoned cities in Seasons Keep. It's been a rough millennia.
There's only
It's
one
this-
on your map.
Well, Ysbaddaden does a very good job. We've been trying to reclaim as much as possible. The most annoying one, Abandoned City 25, Summer. Just really, it's just a place. It's a bunch of abandoned towers on a half-sunken, a half-sunken drowned city. Pretty standard, really, for the course of We pride ourselves here at Summer. There's there's many more abandoned cities in Springside. They do not have their affairs together, but we here.
Sure. And I'm not meaning to be offensive, but pray tell, if there was a place from whence such horrifically offensive art could have begotten, would it not be a place that is undesired to speak of?
I suppose it's worth checking out.
Wait, hang on. Bessemer.
Yeah.
That's possible, but what about what kind of art universities do you have here? Do you have any with like a mainly self-study program? Because it could be from one of those.
Oh,
that's
fair.
Interesting. Well, there's really only a couple of yes, I suppose most of them are on the trades and crafts and art. This is interesting. And sort of goes in like, and it's clearly like eyes moving very quickly, either some actual mind palace or some kind of magical one, similar to the kind that DCI Beads rolls, is going through different possibilities. Like, no, not this, and says, oh, that's interesting. Yes, there is one, the Marine Regency of Mandible Grot. And thinks she's like it's a little known petty kingdom of Summer. That is, and you see their sort of like voice go very flat. It's right by Abandoned City 25 SM.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry.
Okay, well there you go.
Well, that's a very interesting place to well, it's I don't suppose we can hire a driver for you if you'd like to go explore it. If you'd like to go check this out. I'm quite constrained here to this location. You have a car? Oh, yeah. Well, that changes everything. Can I see it?
Well, it's in the castle somewhere.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
I could call it if you want.
The neon sort of like, oh, could you please? I must
Is
admit,
she gonna Kool-Aid man through the walls?
It says that it will come when called for, no matter where. So I guess I just hey, Christine.
So possibly.
There's like a all right. At that moment in time, in Yisbadun's antechamber, DCI Beads, having now pieced together some salient and all too predictable facts, are now sort of disconsolate. Among all of these things, trying to get your sense of smell back, your sense of self back, and you hear from a back room, beep beep.
Christine has a diesel engine, by the way. I don't know if we ever mentioned that.
Does that kind of car have a diesel engine?
No, but
if you put a diesel engine in it.
Damn.
It's a diesel engine because it's very hard to stop a diesel engine because the car's always fucking moving. So the car's alive.
Always moving, always moving.
Have a diesel engine instead of a combustion. That's all I mean.
There's a slight sound of beep beep, and Christine bursts through a side door. Seems to be made some kind of shoji screen or another. Wasn't very hard for the car to do. DCI Beads, Christine, the car is now in the same room as you, but seems to be rocketing forward out the window.
Oh, hello, Christine. Oh, goodbye, Christine. Well, I guess maybe you're investigating as well. Who knows? Who knows?
Are you going to stick around in the room?
Oh, did you want me to come with you? Could you just explain your thinking, animate car?
I think she's already left.
Oh, okay, goodbye. Now I'm just eating the baguette chunk by chunk, and going back through the diary entries to make sure I haven't missed anything. I'll cast the spell next time. I swear. Let's see what happens next.
So Christine the car, Christine the car, who has been they call it a garage, but it was very clearly condescendingly some kind of Quonset hut or tool shed, not a garage at all. Very, very disappointing. Christine, driving out along a rampart. You hear from your perspective on the top of this beautiful roof, on top of the eastern part of the summer house, looking out upon the great plains of the island of Summerside. Beep, beep. As Christine launches over one of the walls and slams into onto the rooftop where you all are standing.
Oh, I thought we were in the library.
You're on the top of the library. You are looking out upon the great stars.
Oh,
through
right.
tropical-
Yeah, we were looking at the sky. Yeah, right. Oh, hey. We got a new job.
Beep beep. All 4 doors open simultaneously.
Oh, thank you.
So we're gonna go now, or
Yeah, hold on. I need to make a pit stop. I need to restock up on some medical stuff. Can we swing by that wing that was mentioned earlier on the way?
That's great. That would be a literal smash cut.
With
It's
a
all of you.
car-shaped hole in the wall, yeah.
Yeah. So all of you pile into Christine as Niam is now gone from respectfully questioning Hirsute, asking for ideas about location and battle and motive, and is now just talking about cars. But clearly doesn't know anything about them. Is this what you would call a 2-axle car? Like this, look at this shade of pink. It's quite fantastic. Is this a weatherproof-ing that is on it? Wow, this is so fantastic. I've never seen a living car quite this bright before.
She eats people.
Nina says, "Oh, well, that's fantastic. That must mean it's much cheaper upkeep. Of course, just seems to be completely unaffected by the idea of a mechanical piece of fauna or flora or what have you. Just like, oh yeah, that's well, I'll keep my distance. I assure you. If you need car food, there's some in the hold at the lowest level of the castle towards the easternmost ridge. But
are you saying there's people there?
No, there's gasoline, but presumably there's people too. Please don't eat them.
She accepts many cuisines.
Diesel only, actually.
She says there's a log pauses. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure they can help you out there. Well, fare thee well, and takes the huge rolled giant size map and shoves it into the back of the car where it takes up most of the back seat.
Like Charon would say, vroom vroom.
Vroom vroom.
That's for Vex.
Yeah, as all of you pile into the car, all 4 of the doors slam shut. And have you ever seen a sentient car do a 3-point turn on the rooftop rampart of a giant's library?
Nah, man.
Neither has Christine. As the turnabout is extremely violent.
Actually, quick question: where did Baden go again?
Baden went somewhere. Simply said that he needed to speak to his summer guard, and then said he had other matters to attend to, and disappeared.
All right. I guess I tell the librarian. I'll just keep him posted. Okay, we're going to.
Oh, we share all information at the start and the end of every single day. I assure you, I will relay your concerns to him the moment he returns.
Right. Okay, Christine, let's go pick up beans.
Brum, brum. Yeah, the car. I forget. Can Christine? Does Christine have the ability to drive along the sides of walls?
No, you wrote the game, bro.
I'm asking for which selection you did for this particular car.
Oh wait, was there another?
Does Christine have get out of Dodge?
No. I don't have that.
Okay.
Power.
Okay. Then you are driving along the rooftops, driving along the ramparts. There's a couple of guards who are diving out of the way as you pick up more and more speed. Making your way towards the westernmost part of the castle. Christine seems to know the castle layout pretty well at this point, and is driving in a spiral down, skirting around the invisible maze that you completely didn't get bamboozled or fooled by it in any way whatsoever in the first episode, annoyingly. And makes its way
I
down.
fell through a skylight.
Is going down a spiral dirt area very similar to the oubliette that Bessemer you were in earlier, and it seems like large chunks of the castle are unfinished dirt. A lot of it just seems to be infilled and things carved into it. As you make your way to a supply room, Christine stops short. Everybody is sort of like pushed forward into their back seats. And all around you are many different shelves of salves, ointments, bandages, and a couple of very, very confused looking medical professionals staring at a car and the car-sized hole that was made in the wall.
I step out of the car.
For a place made for
I'm not
giants.
still naked. I think I've put clothes on.
You've deigned to put clothes on.
I'm pulling clothes. I'm like becoming not naked because I would never
right.
I would never make a medical space. I wouldn't expose it to bodily fluids, so I'm being respectful. I don't care about everybody
Wait,
else.
what?
When Christine's door
Wait,
opened
that's-
for you, there was a sign on the inside of the door saying "No butt on seat."
Yeah, but you can't see it anymore because Christine knocked it out of the way.
I'm
Hirsute,
gonna let it go.
Oh, Hirsute, what were you saying before about for a castle made for giants?
Walls are pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's an interesting note actually. Between the infill and the shoddy workmanship of the walls and the fact that it's a bunch of stuff that seems to be kind of put together, it sort of looks like this castle is only partially for giants. It seems it's also kind of just there to be there, put together out of parts, and some of those parts at this moment in time are this very human sized, or this very human folk sized, demon sized, skeleton sized medical wing. As they sort of pick themselves off from the rubble and look around, and one of the attendants looks over and says, I'm assuming Penquar sent you, Yspadaden. I don't know why else you would be here unless this was an invasion.
No, you're great at assumptions. Yspadaden sent us.
Great.
I present myself. I have gone through this crazy traveling situation, which I'm still probably like seeing some colors that aren't there, although I obviously can function. And the gravity hand spell that I did in the last episode, that was 15 grit. So I'm almost running on fumes right now. So
right.
I present myself firstly asking for healing, but also I want to stock up on materials that can replenish grit or aid with healing and things. Like I have basic stuff, but I want to do a little stock up.
So one of the attendants hears your requests and smiles cheerfully, and they go, drugs, sure, absolutely. And goes over to a pile of stuff. There's it's a melange of really ancient looking apothecary equipment, like tinctures and copper kettles with spiraled phials and strange liquids, and it all seems to be on like modern regular world like U-line shelving. It's all very regularized. Is going through all of it like here's some salves, here's some standard bandages, hands you stuff to just sort of very quickly and perfunctorily replenish your healer's kit. All the standard items that appear in it are now back to functioning. This attendant then says, look around this fine room. Do you know where this is? Bessemer, I would like you to roll reason.
Okay, let's see. I think I have actual dice today.
Ooh.
I do. Look at me go. Huh. Well, I rolled on to something and that stopped it. I only rolled a 2.
The 2. You are in a room full of medical supplies is where you are.
Yeah, I'm still reeling from earlier.
Yeah, you're hallucinating. It's just turning into like everything looked like beautiful and moving, and things are kind of starting to look like an ashtray. Just the come down is not great.
Yeah. Can I just ask them, can we up my grit and then see if I can deduce anything a little bit better?
Sure. So you just straight up are asking for replenish, and after this person cheerfully said drugs.
Yeah. And that
come
filled me up to the brim that I was like, oh, we speak the same language. I got it.
What's the Sometimes Kingdom version of Gunch?
The Sometimes Kingdom version of Gunk is Liquid Season. They're tailored for each season, and which is now told. There is a simple herb that does grit replenishment at a very small level, which healers have often in their healer kit should they select it at the start of their questing. However,
You maybe call
besides
it
that,
weed.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. That's so different. It's like, because it grows so abundantly. It's like weeds out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's so plentiful. It is Liquid Seasons, and the attendant comes back with a handsome glass bottle with an old timey cork in it. I guess for Seasons Keep, just a cork in it. This is the kind of bottle that you'd have like a small amount of like a limited run of bourbon in, or some kind of like I don't know, yeah, something like that. Comes
Port
back with it
or something.
pour, yeah, like a port or a snifter of this or that. I.e., it's kind of heavy.
This is the part of Sweeney Todd where they're like, smells like piss. This is piss.
100%. It has a beautiful label on it, which says in Sumerian, liquid summer, but to all of you, it looks like it says Yogsbog Nav Yogrub, and is it hands to you this bottle, and it is warm to the touch. It is everything you want out of a magical potion. It's slightly glowing on the inside. It's deep green, blue. It's swirling around. There seems to be some kind of storm happening on it. The label has, the label looks kind of like scrawled on in place, like it's sort of a crappity art job, but gets the job done. It doesn't need to compare to the beautiful like liquid therein. And she, the attendant says, "Well, enjoy your liquid with summer. Since you know where you are, where you're at, I'm sure I don't need to tell you anything else about it. So here you go."
Okay, I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about this, and I also have a little bit of too much curiosity to really want to ask anything. But I'm also a learned bitch. So I take one mouthful, one swig.
One swig. Has Bessemer been to Summerside before ever?
I think like for like mandated educational related things, like schooling and stuff like that, like field trippy type things, but I didn't then like study abroad here on my own and get familiar with it.
You have a nostalgic sort of like food or like when you eat or drink something Ratatouille style and you're rocketed back to that nostalgic place. Like the one moment that you genuinely enjoyed in this hot, sweaty, incredibly dangerous, godforsaken island, floating in the air and half drowned. There was just one beautiful moment that you had in the sun at that time, with beautiful flowers all around and the heat on your skin. And it immediately feels like that. And then you also immediately start feeling high as a kite. Everybody in the car with you as you take a swig of it, or I guess how are you all? You're all still in the car, right? Yeah. Bessemer, did you get out of the car? Are you doing this like a drive-through, like a Starbucks drive-through? Are you like reaching out?
I got out of the car.
You got out of the car. Okay.
So I'll
Well,
say that I sat back down in the car and took one
And then
swig,
took it?
because this is really what I wanted.
Everybody in the car has while you drink this immediately also has a heart, like a warm, pleasant feeling to you. Although Fasole and Hirsute, you're both from Winter, and you wanna maybe yeah, both of you wanna you're it's hot, your bones are warm, it's awful.
This is piss.
So you took a tiny little swig. Bessemer, immediately restore 3 grit to your sheet.
Also, there's no cup holders in Christine, right? Cup holders hadn't been
I think
yet.
Yeah, Bessemer's I think gonna have to double hand this one. Just hold. It's like this. It's big. It's big. It's heavy. It's sloshy.
This is something that I'm going to protect with my, like, this is going to end up in my.
This is your new favorite. This is your new favorite object.
This is my new favorite object because it's a bottle of it. I'm assuming, like, normally when I have something that can replenish grit or health, like it's in it's like a pre-portioned thing, but this is a large amount, so it could presumably heal a larger being, or
Indeed,
I could use it on repeat, which is great because when, like, that grit cost adds up, baby. But it seems like the replenishment is not the time to do any more magic because I am floating.
You also, there's also the energeia or magical flow or whatever you want to call it. As you feel a little bit of your life force restore after taking just even one little dram of this thick, heavy bottle. There's a bit of a strange inflection to it. You feel, you don't just feel like better and high, you also feel like a little more powerful than you did before. You feel like you're feeling you've got some more agency in your life than you did before. That's pretty decent. Some good stuff right there. Fasole and Hirsute presumably at this point are not having any of this, just not avoiding any memories of hot sweatiness, any of the sensations involved in this remotely.
Magic in the car, please.
Roll the window down next time.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Yes, you did. You did
cork.
We've talked about this several times.
He's not wrong.
You're right, and I have to be accountable to that. I stop at the bottle to make sure no more fumes get out, partially in respect of her soup, but definitely because I'm like, this shit ain't going bad. I'm protecting this, and I put it in my healer's kit so that I have access to it should I need it.
So presumably in a couple of minutes, as DCI Beans muttering to himself, is there anything else you would like to do as or before Christine comes crashing through the wall closest to the window of Yisbdaden's antechamber?
Yes, while limited by grit, I have also been searching for a way to replenish, without using game terms diegetically, my vitality and vigor, because I am trying to cast a spell to blind the eye in the sky. So just when they come, I was probably about to unleash a spell called Alarming Time Stiletto. However, if they come Kool-Aid personing through the car, then they simply find a drunk skunk in a still sort of half entangled in a pashmina with a cheese knife in one hand, commanding its Harry Potter style to blind the sun. So it's sort of a scene from Bataille, but cute.
But yeah, I was about to say, but like a skunk stabbing at the sun. So Bataille, yeah. Well, at the very moment that you're about to cast it, you hear the beep beep. As Christine, crashes through one of the side windows, as bits of chunks of ornament and brick join the rest of the collapsed furniture from Yisbdaden and his attendant, most likely boyfriend's last tussle. The Christine is now in the room, and one of the doors opens up automatically if you'd like to get in or not.
Oh, are you going to invite me this time? Or do I just have to throw an entire bottle of limoncello at you? Because it turns out in my present form, I can't really metabolize as much limoncello as I used to. So I've only consumed like 5% of this limoncello. And also it's a giant sized bottle. It will require all 4 of my limbs on my back to catapult it towards you. With enough time, I could construct a counterweighted trebuchet to send it 16 times further. However, in my present state, you have interrupted a dangerous eldritch, and then I just realized that everyone else is there, and I'm like, oh, hello, Christine's friends. I mean, my friends. I mean, my fellow investigators. I mean, my detective sergeants.
I get out of the car, and while Beans is saying all of this, I pick him up and I pick up the bottle of limoncello and I look around and see if there's anything else that seems like he needs it right now for his immediate success in life. And then I just gently bring him back to the car.
The thing that you see immediately is Yisbadaden's scarf, probably like a pocket handkerchief. That's the thing that's most immediately. It's beautiful. It's
I grab that. It goes in my back pocket the way that oh my God, Sinead O'Connor put the baby onesie in her back pocket when she was sick and tired of anti-feminism in the 90s. It's like,
I thought you were going to be talking about a hanky code, but similar.
Yeah, the hanky code would just be giants if it's in the right hand pocket. Giants, you don't even want to know it would be in the left hand pocket. So
I allow it. DCI Beans is protesting verbally and is directing protestations at the training in the academy these days, and also Christine, but in reality is letting Bessemer do whatever she thinks best. You would notice that I've detailed all the notes that I found. So like meticulous, well-organized outline style, minute by minute of like what Yspadaden and the Summer Guard have been up to. And like it says like on page 1, there's an arrow pointing to the corner that's like, just jump to the end. And at the end, it's got a big circled in red. Like I went and found a red what's called pastel to circle my normal red stick, fudge stick, lipstick to circle my own black pen that says clearly the Summer Guard are plotting to overthrow Yspadaden for reasons. Clearly there's a link to the giant eye in the sky. Oh look, limoncello, and then it just stops mid-word.
I see this, and knowing Beans, having worked with Beans before, being very us having a history and like a brotherhood type way, I'm like, oh yep, his notes, and look, his incredible work that I can rely on, and I grab these and take respectful care of them while noting all of the work and the supporting arguments and the red circle as I carry DCI Beans, who I know does not like being carried, but also knows that I only carry him when he needs it.
That's very gentle.
Thank you.
We're all in the car.
Mowing
down pedestrians.
Just left and right, which is canon. You said it. It's true.
Wait, they're pedestrians?
Well, they're giants. They're bigger than the car, right? So we just kind of bump into them like a toy car and go around. I don't know.
They're sleeping and the road's made of them. Yeah.
I
see.
Just around.
Life of the Highway starts playing as we fade to.
And you want to ride it all night. Well, I forget the rest, but you get the idea.
Highway to the giant zone.
So on that
giant zone.
Giant eye. So let me ask a question here. This seems like a good enough place as any to stop our investigatory episode of the Sometimes Stream. Will Wonders Never Cease. You're driving out onto the long and great cobblestoned road towards the Petty Kings of the Summer, presumably, I think, to check out the Marine Regency, where I think some conclusions have been made between your suit and Bessemer about the next location to investigate, or anywhere really.
Or we just stab this guy. We just use a magical knife to stab the sun.
Yes, and I hear you, DCI Beans, but the whole thing is that when it blinks, we lose our memories. So if it goes blind, do we all go blind? Do we lose our... We need to investigate more before we stabby stab. But I promise, if we're going to stab the eye, I'll let you do it.
Just
get
as
to
long
be
as
the
someone
one.
stabs someone. Just stab someone.
Okay,
I just whisper
we'll
that.
include some stabbing. I promise. Stabby stab.
As I fall asleep in the back.
I don't really do
Hirsute,
stabbing.
Hirsute, did you put the cube in your rib cage? The detecting cube?
Last time,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I gave it to Bessemer for a bit, and then I
No.
guess I got it back
I-
between.
I think it's in your rib cage, and you just asked me to look at it.
Oh,
See what
okay.
color it was.
Yeah, as everybody settles in for a long cozy ride in the night under the beautiful stars of summer, the great galactic band, the Milky Way or wherever across the sky, your ribcage starts blinking green just very faintly.
Fuck, guys. Okay, fuck. We're about to lose our memories again.
Isn't it? We already lost our memories.
Yeah, and it's gonna happen again. Your rib cage is blinking. Look at it. It's green.
Wait, we're gonna forget this, or we're gonna forget what happens right after this?
What, we're gonna forget? Yes, you're right. Probably everything that led up to this.
Okay, start writing.
And I am going to cast what I'm going to call a guile spell. And I'm going to do it for how many up to 5 people will cover all of us, correct? Yep. So I'll be using 2 words, and I'm going to cast the spell time patching, so that when the eye blinks and we lose our memories, which we will, the spell is going to hold in it the information that we had at this time, so that we can re-access it and basically relearn our memories.
Interesting. You said this was a guile spell?
Yes, I'm going to charm us.
All right.
Does that not work?
I'm going to say it's going to work, but I'm going to throw in an additional twist as it starts blinking greener and greener and greener. It is going to require a talisman to work. It is going to require something that can hold other things inside of it for it to happen.
Okay. I pull out one of my vials. Right? Like one of my little vials.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to attempt to put the information of the memories, if not the memories themselves, inside the vial and bottle it up. So this is a spell for containing information.
I can't drink that whole bottle of shit and then put it in there. That would be crazy town. Okay, I take my witch's bag and I dump it out on my lap, and I'm just gonna use my witch's bag because the vial's not gonna be able to hold enough of it. So my witch's bag it'll be weird, but it'll be able to hold the information, and then I can put my stuff away after.
Okay. For 5 people, that's gonna take. Well, it's a good thing you've got that liquid summer, because this is probably going to take every last little bit of grit that you have. In these last hurried seconds, your eyes go white, and instead of going into through a door or through for a swap around or any of your other spells, this time you are inside the big void of your carry-all witch's bag, and it's a good thing it's a witch's bag too, because boy howdy, the amount of stuff that thing can hold is now being put to the limit as it's being asked to put information itself inside, as all of the last dregs of whatever grit that you have disappear from your body. You all suddenly find yourself at sunrise, in a field. You're all sort of at the ready with Christine. Between all of you, in front of you all, on one side of a field, is an approaching group of people in green scale mail, holding spears. And right behind you seem to be a group of people in a slightly different shade of green, holding muskets and blunderbusses, various other ballistic missiles of that kind. And they both seem to be approaching onto the same location that you all are on, and shouting as everybody suddenly stops. Really confusedly, it starts cursing to themselves, wondering what the hell is going on. And I think that's where we're going to leave off this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for listening to the Sometimes Stream.
Let's go,
remember.
muskets.
Hirsute, what did you say?
I was like, see you next time, everybody.
Do we all turn to the camera and wave, like in character?
Yeah, you turn to the camera, and then the camera zooms around, and it's a deeply confused, second lieutenant, advancing on the position. It's like, well, we're right here. I'll see you now.
Actually, it is even funnier if only Hirsute does it, and now we're double confused because we've A, lost our memories, and B, are like, Hirsute, to whom are you speaking? Anyway, this was great. Thanks, Ethan. Anyone else final words or end in the stream?
No
Thanks,
fourth
Max.
walls allowed.
No fourth
No fourth walls allowed. Thanks so much to Jeff, Ben, Wythe, and Erica for being part of the Sometimes Stream Will Wonders Never Cease. We will reconvene in 2 weeks. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.